here, and today we're going to talk about Halloween comics that you can enjoy during this spooky season or any time of the year, but they're always best when it's spooky season. And in America you can drink your pumpkin spice lattes, which this year we actually have in Australia, which is a big deal. Even though they're not vegan, I can still enjoy the thought of drinking a delicious pumpkin spice frappuccinos. So yeah, today we're going to sit down and talk about some of my favourite horror books, spooky books for all ages as well as adults, so there's going to be something for everyone. So grab your pumpkin spice latte and your delicious pumpkin pie and let us all enjoy pumpkins and spooky books. First off, let's read Junji Ito's Dissolving Classroom, but you could pretty much use any book by Junji Ito and you're going to have such a wonderful spooky time. Even his book about his cats is quite horrifying. He is a horror master, and this is what made me fall in love with manga and made me realize there was a whole nother world out there that I was missing. But today we're going to concentrate on one particular book called Dissolving Classroom, which is a group of short stories all about Yuma and his younger sister Chizumi. Totally normal, right? Just a brother and his younger sister, except that his sister might be the embodiment of the devil and an evil entity, because whenever she goes anywhere, horrible things happen. And I'm not talking about people tripping over things or, someone getting the wrong deli meat in their delicious sandwich. I'm talking about people's face melting permanently, people dying, all kinds of spooky stuff. And there's actually an iconic image of her looking like the spookiest clown ever coming through a door. What's this about? It's very, very spooky. It is not for children in any way, shape or form, but you should read it at any time you can because the artistic talent of Junji Ito should be enjoyed by everyone. Next, let's talk about Fake Blood by Whitney Gardner. Now, this book is the whole reason why I wanted to make this video. I love spooky books and I love spooky comics, especially teen books about spooky things, and that's what this is. It's about a teenager named AJ, and he's a very normal young boy who has a crush on a young girl named Nia. Nia has a particular interest in a particular subject, and that subject is spooky vampires and vampire slayers. Now, AJ takes particular notice of this during school when they get teamed up to do a project together, and notices that she likes a particular looking vampire that's very similar to Edward in Twilight. Sparkly, perfect hair, eyeshadow under the eyes, that kind of look. And so AJ decides it's a really good idea to change his appearance to try and look like a vampire to impress Nia. However, it may turn out that Nia is not so obsessed with the vampires, but perhaps vampire hunting. It's amazing, it's so much fun, I love the colour palette and the overall feel of this comic. I especially love everybody's houses and the rooms. There's like twinkle lights hung up in everybody's rooms, in the kitchens, in the bedrooms, and I love the relationship between AJ and his sister and the understanding they have together. It's so wonderful, and his sister doesn't get upset when he wants to borrow her Twilight, because it's not called Twilight, but it's very obviously Twilight book, and she's just like, yeah, sure, man. It's wonderful. I just love this book so much. So if you're in the mood for something with a bit more of a goosebumps feel and overall spooky feeling, but not terrifying, Fake Blood is for you. Let's talk about one of my all-time favorite comics. It's Chew by John Layman and Rob Gilroy. This particular copy of mine is signed by Rob and given to me by a very dear friend because I missed out on meeting him, but I did manage to meet John, which was just a magic moment, talking to them about their comic because I've been reading it for so long. It's a finished comic. It's 12 volumes for you to enjoy at any time you want, but I particularly love this comic because of the concept of it. It's all about Tony Chu, who is a chibiopath. It's a made-up thing, but it's someone that gets the entire history of something when they eat it. So he can eat, a cow and see how the cow was birthed and how it grew up and what it ate and then how it was slaughtered. So it's not a wonderful gift to have. However, it does get him a job as a detective in which he has to bite things at crime scenes to find out how particular people died. What a horrible job Tony Chu has. Now, this is all during a particular era in which the chicken flu did take off, and chickens and hens and eggs and all that have been banned. So people are walking around selling chicken eggs and all kinds of chickeny bits in their jackets like drugs, like, hey man, hey, I've got some fresh stuff, I've got some fresh eggs, you want to buy this? It's so funny, it's so well done, and there's so many jokes in the background hidden in the art, so you have to really take your time looking at panels, and it takes a long time to read sometimes because you're laughing so much and looking at all the tiny little jokes drawn in and written. It's an absolute banger of a read. So it really is a spooky book because it concentrates on a guy that's cannibalistic. That's why I've put it in here, kind of. He doesn't want to be. He just wants to eat beetroots because it's the only thing that he can eat and not get visions from, so he eats nothing but beetroots. But his job is really strange, and it goes on this weird ride where there's like killer chickens named Poyo who kill people, and then vampires and all kinds of stuff. So it's otherworldly, it's also a detective book, and it's also really gross, like so gross. So if you enjoy gross humor and also ghosts and ghouls and vampires, definitely pick up Chew. That's why it's one of my all-time favorite books. The minute I sat down to film this, no joke, it's 8 o'clock in the morning on a Friday. I've got jackhammering going on outside my window. Then I have a guy that's randomly been singing heavy metal music since 4 a.m. and he has a really good voice. It's like very loud and very well done, like operatic even. But he's singing since 4 in the morning. It's now 4 hours into this dude singing. So now all my neighbors are starting to yell at the dude singing opera. That's heavy metal. All at the same time while I'm trying to film this. So it was a bad plan, but I'm gonna keep going. So I'd like to apologize if you can hear any of the shenanigans outside in the microphone, but let's start talking about my current favorite book. It's Ice Cream Man by W. Maxwell Prince and Martin Morazzo. This book has been my favorite since issue number 1. It follows a guy known as the Ice Cream Man as he goes in between stories in the background, sometimes the focus, and tells horrifying stories, and sometimes they're horrifying as in giant spiders, or in this one, a particular ghost and ghoul. Sometimes it's like very depressing adult life stuff about being alone and life changes, and there's one particular issue that each issue is strawberry, chocolate and vanilla, colored in a particular way, and each one follows a particular character with 3 different outcomes, and it's done like Neapolitan ice cream. It's stunning to look at, but so depressing, and that's the kind of horror that I love, when it's adult life, when it's not always ghosts and ghouls, but that moment where you're just like, oh man, real life is sometimes the scariest thing in the world. So if you're in the mood for short little stories, the first volume, Ice Cream Man Volume 1, is out now from Image Comics, or you can pick it up month to month, currently coming out. I cannot recommend the book more. It is so spooky, so unique. There are stories that I've never ever read before, not retellings of classic horror, but some really original ideas. Now, if we're talking horror comics, you can't really go past the classic EC Comics Tales from the Crypt. This was the first comic that I ever read, not this particular comic, but the little floppy comics coming out in single issues back in the day. I bought them for $1 a piece from Becky's Books at Tuggeranong Hyperdome, and it was how my mum kept me quiet while we were doing grocery shopping. So I've always loved Tales from the Crypt. It's been an influence for pretty much every single person that's enjoyed horror. Massive influence for the movie Creep Show and any anthology comic made into TV series, into movies. It is so iconic. It's classic horror with spooks and ghosts and ghouls, with each story focusing on one particular storyteller and one particular story. It is so terrifying, it's funny at times, it's violent and shocking at times, and it got banned at one particular time because it was so full on for its era. Classic horror, classic storytelling, and guaranteed to keep you warm on a very spooky night. Lastly, let's talk about Melvyn Monster, one of my all-time favorite all-ages comics by John Stanley. Now, you may know John Stanley from his work on Little Lulu, Woody Woodpecker. If you're an old person like me, I highly recommend it. It doesn't matter what age you are, you can enjoy Melvyn Monster. It's all about his antics. He's quite a goofy guy, and he gets into a little bit of trouble, and it has that kind of Scooby-Doo feel with ghosts and ghouls and over-the-top caricatures of what you think ghosts and ghouls should look like. It also has wonderful sound effects. Everything's very over-the-top, so I wanted to show you this particular page, which perfectly illustrates the Melvyn Monster way of life. Biff, bam, kapows, all that kind of fun. Melvyn Monster. Please, if you can find these are now out of print. They're by Drawn and Quarterly, but if you can find them, please enjoy Melvyn Monster, Little Lulu, Tubby, anything you can get your hands on by John Stanley at any time. But during Halloween, just enjoy some good old Melvyn Monster. So that's some of my favorite spooky Halloween books currently. Let me know in the comments down below, what what are some of your favourite books to read during Halloween? I really wish Halloween was a big thing here in Australia, but it's really just me and some other friends being like, yeah man, spooky stuff. It's that one time a year that I could shine and talk about horror movies and people will actually have a conversation with me about them. So I hope you're enjoying the Halloween season. Later this week, Liam and I are going to be recording a video all about our favourite Australian horror films, which is so much fun. Wow, do I have a lot to say on that subject. So have a great week, enjoy your Halloween candy, and we'll see you really soon. Bye!